Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sarah Sperber and I'm a realtor in the Northern Nevada market. On today's video, I'm going to be doing my monthly data deep dive. The data for the Reno Sparks market just dropped for the recap of July, so I'm going to share with you what those numbers uncovered, as well as give you my predictions for August. We also can't really talk about what's to come in August without touching on the NAR settlement situation and also talking about mortgage interest rates. So this episode is going to be jam-packed with information, so you're going to want to stay tuned and make sure that you are paying attention and maybe even taking some notes. So without further ado, let's dive in. First things first, let's go through the data. So at the closeout of July, the median sales price, and now we're talking Reno and Sparks. All of Washoe County is going to look a little bit different, but I'm going to focus on Reno and Sparks this month. For the closeout of July, the median sales price landed at $607,500. This is a 1.3% increase month over month and a 6.6% increase year over year. So nothing too crazy month to month, but it is significant and prices are continuing to climb despite the fact that mortgage interest rates remained high through July. We have had some recent developments in that regard, and I am going to touch on that, but for now, just stay put, stay with me. Let's get through this data. Number of closed sales for the end of July landed at 418 sales. This is only a 4.5% increase month over month, but a 2.6% decrease from this same month last year. Honestly, on the ground, July felt significantly slower than the months that preceded it. We were anticipating a really hot summer market, and I don't know, it just didn't really feel that way, especially compared to last summer. I know rates have been holding really high, prices are high. It also just kind of feels like there's something in the air around here. Everybody I know is like away on vacation. I do think that based on the numbers and what's in store for the months ahead, that we are going to see some very unique changes in our market in the fall. I'm going to get into all that, so don't go anywhere. Median days to contract. Now, this is the biggest change month over month from the end of June to the end of July. This increased by 64.3%, landing at 23 days. If you guys don't know, days to contract is like how many days it takes from the time a listing goes live to a time there is an accepted offer. 23 days, although that's a huge increase month over month, that's still a pretty short amount of time for a property to sit before getting an offer accepted. Also, you have to keep in mind that this is a median number. This metric really depends on the type of property, the price range, the location, etc. So if you want to know specifics about your neighborhood, if you're thinking about listing, or if you are a homeowner and you're curious about days to contract or any of these numbers for your specific neighborhood, let me know. There's a link in the show notes to reach out and book a call. I'm going to keep moving through this though because I have so much ground to cover, so stay with me. Percent of list price received. So this is, how much of the asking price the seller actually walks with, and that hardly changed. It really honestly hasn't significantly changed in like the last 2+ years, but it's over 99%. So that's only a 0.5% decrease from last month and a 0.2% increase from the year before. Again, nothing to really write home about here, so let's keep moving through these. Median sold price per square foot. Again, this number hardly changed month over month. It decreased by less than 1%, landing at $316 per square foot. This is up almost 4% year over year, but the change month over month really isn't that significant, so I'm going to carry on with this data. Number of new listings landed at 533 listings month over month. This is a 2.2% decrease and a 4.5% increase year over year. Honestly, like I said, July was a bust. It felt like we were like climbing. Everything was hot. There was so much activity. More inventory was coming. Buyers were playing. And then I don't know if it was just me or like my experience on the ground, but July just felt like really slow and it was like so hot. Obviously, mortgage interest rates, elephant in the room, that had a lot to do with it, but we're going to talk about that, so don't go anywhere. And we're also going to talk about NAR and all the changes that are coming to this industry that are going to have a massive impact on you, whether you are a buyer or a seller. So stay with me. Active inventory was up 5.5% month over month, landing at 928 listings. This is a 16% increase year over year. That's pretty significant. So this is number of active listings in our market. That actually does include under contract and under contract no show, which is where they have it under contract and no one's allowed to see it. That means they're serious and their buyer has likely submitted their earnest money, etc. But that's a pretty significant increase. So less new listings coming online, more active inventory. That means that things are not moving as fast as they were the month before. Month supply of inventory, again, this one didn't drastically change. It increased by less than 1% month over month, but a whopping 19.1% year over year, landing at 2.2 months supply of inventory. Let's dive into all of this. And it's really hard to talk about this without talking about other factors that are not really tracked by our MLS. So I'm going to do my best to kind of give you the overview of what this all means. Let's just start out by saying that it has been rough out there for buyers because prices have continued to remain strong and increase. On top of that, we have had extremely low inventory, and if you want to throw in the cherry on top, the mortgage interest rates have made it very expensive to borrow money. But there is good news for buyers. Mortgage interest rates appear to be on their way down. They have come down significantly the last couple of days. We're actually at the lowest rate that we have seen in the past 16 months right now. I am filming this on August 3rd. I do have a whole editing team and process, so by the time you guys are watching this, it will be later. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but everyone's telling us they're going to continue coming down, and we should expect big rate cuts in September. I am hoping for the best, preparing for the worst, although hopefully we've already seen the worst. But with rates softening, the thing that you buyers out there need to keep in mind is that if rates come down, if borrowing money is less expensive, more buyers can play ball, which ends up driving up the competition, which therefore drives up prices. So when there are more buyers entering the market, sellers have more leverage, and so it's a lot harder to ask sellers for certain concessions. However, elephant, like ultimate Grand Pumbaa elephant in the room. Is that how you say it? Is it Grand Pumbaa? Pumbaa? I don't know. Elephant in the room is the NAR settlement. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I've kind of touched on this a lot. Just keep in mind that a lot of buyers have really been dealt a tough hand thus far, especially with affordability. Put yourself in their shoes, because if you are one of those people who's been brainwashed by the media and been told, I don't need to pay a buyer's agent, so I'm not gonna. Well, in the contract that a buyer has with their agent, they're maybe going to specify that they don't want to be shown any homes where they're going to be responsible for the compensation, because simply put, they can't afford it, because a lot of them are already scraping by to come up with the down payment, the cash to close, all of that goes into the purchase of a home. Make sure that whoever you are working with, whether it's, representing you as a seller or a buyer, is somebody that you trust and can have an open conversation about all of this with, because that's going to be super important. Make sure that that person is really clarifying and capable of answering any questions you might have, and they're not just like skimping it over, because at the end of the day, if you don't have that money and you get stuck with that bill, that's going to be a serious challenge for everyone involved. One other thing I want to add is that if you are thinking about selling and taking this situation into mind, most likely you're going to be a seller and then a buyer. So consider how you navigate these waters as a seller. Take into account that you're also going to be a buyer most likely. So at the end of the day, this whole thing is so silly. Most sellers are also buyers, unless you are, selling your last home ever. In that case, this doesn't apply. Sellers, you also need to be aware that as rates come down and more buyers are able to come into the market and play ball, you're also going to see a lot of other sellers saying, hey, there's more people buying, prices are going up. It's, it's a lot more competitive out there for buyers. Now's a good time to list and sell. And that's true. But that's also going to mean that you're competing against a lot more inventory than you are at this moment in time. So you're going to want to make sure that your listing is adequately prepared and maybe go above that and make it shine above the rest. You might want to consider staging in certain price ranges. You might want to consider, pre-listing inspections so that you already know what's ahead of you, as far as repair requests, and maybe handle some of those big ticket items. Anyone who's thinking about making a move, whether it's buying, selling, moving laterally, whatever you're doing, I'm your girl. You can book a free call with me. There's a link to do that in the description box below. It's no obligation. We can just connect, see if we're a good fit to work together. At the very least, get all of your important questions answered. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and that subscribe button. I put out new videos every single week about the Northern Nevada lifestyle, the Reno Sparks housing market, and of course, all things to do with buying and selling real estate. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week.